Is this thing live? It looks like we're live. What's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you are watching this. I am sweating. I just got back from some practice runs with the GSXR 1000. I'll let you guys get into the live show. I'm going to get these waters out of the shot. All right. So, what have I been up to? Well, as it is, quite a bit. So what I have done is I have made some room in the stable for the 2026. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit about the why behind that what, and also to talk a little bit about what to expect with the new bike. I think there's a lot of speculation right now on that bike as far as what to expect, some of the why behind the drop in horsepower, and really the direction that that bike is heading now that it is going to be a Euro 5 compliant machine. So that for me is probably the most important part, is just that the target audience is going to have a heck of a lot more to finally be able to look forward to. What I mean by target audience or target market is the European market. They've been without leader class motorcycles now for quite some time. And it's interesting because when you start to look at the landscape of motorcycling in general and where a lot of the attention is now going, you know, a lot of that is now going to fully fared bikes. So I think that for a lot of people is going to be one of the largest drives, is the fact that we've got not only a leader class bike, but it's a leader class bike with a full fairing. I'm checking to see if the live feed is any good. So now that we're kind of early on, let me know if the feed is looking good. And if it is, cool. Silverberg's asking, is the red eye worth the price? No, it's not. Not at all. It depends on what you're going to do with it. But I don't know. I don't mess with cars so much anymore. I don't mess with Mopar at all anymore. But if I were to do it all over again, I'd find a 17 or a 19 regular Hellcat, put a 309 gear in it in one of my tunes, and go out there and run darn near nines. I mean, you can run nines with a red eye, but I don't know. I used to gun down red eyes pretty regularly with my car. So, and that's a car running stock boost also. So now getting back to it, the leader class bikes right now are looking a lot better these days. I mean, look at Aprilia's got the new RSV4. Look at what Ducati's doing with the Panigale V4. Of course, Honda's got the Fireblade, the Triple R, and they've got the Double R, another great bike. And now Suzuki will have a bike, and of course, you can't count out the BMW. So what do you do if you are Suzuki to keep pace with that look? Well, it's kind of funny. The European manufacturers have had this whole Euro 5 thing figured out for a while. Honda did a really good job with getting the CBR 1000 Double R not only Euro 5 compliant, but it got a nice bump in power. Why is the 26 dropping in power? Well, a big reason for that is the proximity of the catalytic converter to the collector on that bike. It is smashed right against the collector. And what that does is it kills scavenging. Now, some of the more technical savvy out there will say, well, it's got a wider load separation angle with the cam. How much more scavenging are you really going to get? Well, this is a slight reduction in cam overlap. And keep in mind, BMW, Aprilia, Ducati, all of these guys are running very wide LSAs, and they're making a boatload of claimed horsepower. A lot of that has to do with the exhaust system tuning. It's just kind of weird what the Japanese manufacturers are doing. It's kind of counterintuitive, really, when you think about it. But I don't know. We'll just have to see. I can't wait for mine to show up. So waiting on that to get here with bated breath. Silver's asking, can we legally ride dirt bikes on the street? No, you can't, unless it has been deemed, it's got to have an EO from your local jurisdiction with lights and blinkers. And if it does have lights and blinkers, then you should be good. It just depends on the bike and how that bike blends in with your local laws. But in general, no, it's not, because they don't have the safety or the lights and the blinkers and all that. Lime's in. What's up, man? Lime, how's the feed looking? Are we looking good for this one? God, this shirt is just falling off. This thing is still wet. I've been sweating. I've been spending a ton of time with the 2018 GSXR 1000, getting this suspension dialed in. And I think this suspension is pretty well dialed in now, which is kind of interesting because, you know, in the videos I've been putting out with, and there's going to be another one that's coming up. If I publish this one, I got to go back and look at it because I think I might have screwed up a couple of things. Anyway, and if I did, I'll just have to redo it. But that bike is coming along really nicely. And I'm having to learn a lot about the R model versus the standard model and how those bikes react to suspension inputs and how they react from, you know, being just more or less a static load going down the road, which I know is dynamic. But what I mean is you're not like kicked over on the side of the tire really ripping it. That bike is really a lot more comfortable than the outgoing bike. So, you know, it's just kind of an interesting thing with the R model, getting to know that bike. So, Brian's saying, Jixer chat, I'm shocked and appalled. Oh, and he's got the ball guy with the flex and the specs. It's kind of funny. So yeah, it kind of is Jixer chat in a way. So yeah, Red Alert is no longer. So Red Alert had to leave the stable to make room for whenever it shows up 40th anniversary. So we're going to be bringing in, so far, a bike with no name. That 2018 X-Star bike is going to be my foray into the R models. And I tell you what, guys, I am liking that bike a lot, even with the stock tune. So that's been, you know, it had to work out like that so that I could free up monies so that when the 26 hits, I'll be able to scoop it up. The goal is to try to get the first one that is commercially available. That ain't going to happen, but you get the idea. I want to get one right as they hit. So don't want to have any kind of lag going on there for you guys. I was sort of saying, but even with lights and blinkers, the tires will probably suck on the road. They're not going to be ideal, but I mean, guys have done it for years. So I would say it would be better to get an all-terrain tire rather than a committed knobby tire. But yeah, you could still do it. Sharp saying, what's up, be good to be in tonight. Sorry to see the Gixxer 750 go, but I understand the move to X-Star Gixxer 1000. So here's the thing. I want to make something real clear about this R model Gixxer. It is weird how close it is to the 750 in handling. I'll even take it a step further. It's everything that I wanted the 750 to be. And the funny thing is as it is de-restricted, it will obviously have a much bigger horsepower gap between the two. But I got to tell you, if you were to ride a de-restricted, piped and tuned GSXR 750 and then ride an R model GSXR 1000 that's just bone stock or has a slip on, it would be eerie how close they would be in performance in terms of handling and how the bikes set up and drop into corners. So for me, I got to have the best of both worlds. I've got a bike that handles like my 750, but it's got, well, it's a leader bike, so it's got all of those chops. And it is very soon, it looks like, to get an M4 full exhaust and a tune. And that's something that I want to talk to you guys about too, is tuning solutions and things like that. Let's see. Oh, Ryan's talking to Silver saying, grab you a Honda CRF 450 or 300. Yes, you will love it. Oh, maybe a DRZ coming up soon. We'll see. Oh, and I've got a killer bike for a ride review coming up. I got to see it today. I'm looking forward to this one. Silver's asking, was there a major difference between your white SRT and Hellcat? Yeah, that's an understatement. Yes, huge. Well, yes, huge difference. But look, I don't want this to turn into like a size queen thing. 392 versus Hellcat. So they're both awesome in their own way. Lim's asking if anybody's having a problem with sound. Are you guys running into any issues with sound? Everything's looking good on my side, I think. Getting some static. Is it staticky when I talk? Or is it just like background static? That's interesting. I'm curious. I never know what it looks like from the other side. Well, I'm saying it comes and goes. Weird. Hey, I'll put it to you like this. I was saying when I speak. That is weird. I'm using the microphone on the camera up here. Well, that's annoying. Let me see something here. Yeah, there's nothing I can do about the sound thing. Right? So he sounds like that normal. Tim saying, hey, from Australia, you're changing bikes like my wife changes her hair. Can't wait to see the new Gixxer Thou. I get it. Ryan saying it's crusty. Yeah, no, I can't wait to see it either. Let's see. I may have to move to like a different, like a microphone or something. Oh, so, Ryan's saying it's better after the ad. Nice. Tim saying they say if you sell a 750, you'll always miss it. Here's the thing. It's kind of funny. It's true that you'll miss it a lot, very much so. Here's the thing though. You'll miss it less if you get a bike that acts a lot like that 750. The R model, the GSXR 1000R with the BFF forks, the free float forks, and or free flow forks and the free flow shock. Once you get it set up, it's so close to the 750 that it almost, I mean, it mimics it almost down to the exact feel. It's just crazy how it works out like that. So I have no doubt that when the 26 shows up, here's the thing. When the 26 shows up, the X-Star bike will probably still stick around. And the reason for that is, for whatever reason, me and that X-Star bike are like this. And I tell you what, I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get an R model initially, but now that I've got one, I really can say that they are that good. I do kind of miss the 750 though. And I miss it for a couple of reasons. One is that you can play with the 750. But you can also really play with the 1000. And the main thing is the biggest difference between the two bikes, honestly, is just how little and light the 750 feels by comparison. The 1000, the R model, still feels small. Don't get me wrong. It's just that the 750 is just so good. So there's that. But I had to make a move, and this was a move that allowed me to free up some money so that when the 26 comes, I can bring to you guys all that is the 26. Silver's asking if Dodge brings back gas engines. Look, man, here's the thing with that. I don't know. They need to make an all-wheel drive version of whatever it is. That car weighs so much now already. It's basically like a Durango Hellcat. It weighs that much. Or at least it would, seemingly. I mean, the thing's 4,800 pounds with the new 6-cylinder. So, look, I'd love to say Dodge is going to do something, but again, I'm out of the game, man. I don't really know how else to say it. I don't, because of the cost, because of the expense, I just can't. I have literally been priced out of the one brand that, kind of put food on the table for me for a while. So, could they? Sure. Anything can be engineered. Remember that. But the reality is, if they did, the better answer is if they did, could anybody afford it? Tim's saying the GSXR 1000R can get some crazy tank slappers and head shake if not set up properly. Here's the funny thing. All of them kind of can. There's a video that I put out where I actually get a little bit of a head shake right after a wheelie, and that's actually kind of endearing for me. A lot of what happens with those bikes is, how do I put this? Okay, so I had mine wide open coming up the bridge at over 160 miles an hour today. And at no time did that bike ever feel like it was getting weird. What happens with a lot of GSXR guys is that it's kind of like Mustang guy, where it's not the Mustang that seems to go sliding all over the place, it's the driver. What happens with a lot of motorcycle guys in general, and a lot of motorcycle guys when they're fresh into doing squiddly things, get GSXRs. What happens is they end up with a death grip on the handlebar. And when the bike gets a little light in the front, when it sets down, if your hands are really tight on it, you'll get a head shake. That's normal for motorcycles. Every bike I've ever ridden over 130 horsepower. So GSXR 750 and up. Every one of those bikes, when they bring the front tire up, if you are gripping it like crazy, or if you're not gripping it like crazy and you set it down just lightly, you'll get a little bit of a head shake, and that's it. It's a self-correcting thing. But if you grip the hell out of it, the bike can't self-correct, and it starts freaking out. And what'll happen is it'll cause a resonance, and then all of a sudden you get a tank slapper, where the best case scenario is you just let it go and let it do its thing, or you just have a light grip on it, and as it shakes, you just kind of go with it real quick, and it just goes, that's it, and you rock it. So for a lot of inexperienced guys, that they'll say, oh, it had a head shake or whatever. And it's every one of the bike. Here's one for you. The CBR 1000 that I rode had a nasty little, not nasty, but I mean, all of them have that little wiggle when you're really getting on it. Again, the trick is just to not have a death grip, you know, do your practices. And, you know, some of them will say, well, you know, do the carrot trick or a bottle trick to hold your grips. You just keep a light hand on it and it'll be fine. Here's the thing. I've had that bike, I mean, just really wicked up and have yet to have any weird issues out of it. Except, you know, I'll have it up and a little bit crossed up and you set it down and it'll kind of do that. And I think it's great. I just keep it pinned. So, Ryan's liking the CF Moto 500. Yeah, there's a lot of guys liking that. Their 750 is a little on the heavy side, but guys are saying it's a good bike. DM is in. My man, the fella that has bankrolled the suspension testing routes. For you guys that don't know, DM hit us up with a super chat and he said, first tank of gas is on me. Well, we've gone through about 2-3 tanks of gas, and so DM has provided us the funding for the suspension testing. So it's coming along very nicely, it looks like so far. In fact, I had a really good run with it. Again, uphill to 162 miles an hour and racing a Hayabusa, by the way, because of course I would be. And it's it never got nutty. Now that being said, it's still a stock bike, and I have to shift it at 11.2. But I mean, it's still up there. I mean, it's still past its peak torque. Oh, Tim saying saw a couple of clips in the UK where if you race them, you have to drop the forks though a bit. Okay, so you do kinda. So I know which one you're talking about. That dude has the quick start for the R bikes. And here's the funny thing. In a perfect world, so what he does is he drops the bike 2 millimeters, but he's adding 3 turns, so it's bringing the front end back up under sag. And what he's doing is when you drop the bike, you're reducing trail, and then you bring the thing back up, you still have a reduced trail, and it helps the bike to tip in. What they'll also do is if you have the Öhlins shock, they'll actually bring the fork back into, they'll raise the bike back up, and they will, because the rear of the bike is higher with the Öhlins shock, you get more ground clearance. So it just kind of depends on the setup. You got to remember with the R model, you're already pitched forward a little bit with that bike. And that's the funny thing. For me, I'm more comfortable on the R model than I am on the regular bike. And you'll also, just kind of fun fact, you will catch me doing more power wheelies and just hanging on to, you know, these little, 3-foot power wheelies with that R model all the time. And I've got to be a little careful of that. But it's kind of fun because you're talking about the 750. The R model, especially when it's stock, is so close to the 750 in that respect that you can't tell the difference. Tim, if I were to throw you the keys to the XR bike and just say, go ride it, tell me what you think of the differences, and you just whack the throttle, the only real difference is it'll come up a little bit quicker, a little bit faster with the 1000 because it's got more torque, but it's not by much. But no, I know exactly what you're talking about. That dude knows his stuff. And what's funny is that I did not adjust my preload, but I did adjust compression and rebound dampening, and I'm stiffer on compression and rebound, but I have less preload in my bike. And so for the street, it works out great. Again, for the track, I would probably run with one of his setups because he's kind of got it figured out. But I can tell you that on the street, and I run a pretty decent clip on the street. Once I start getting the bike on the side of the tire, it is really happy. Really happy. So far, anyway. Him saying, thanks, Pete. No, man, thanks you, buddy. Tim, thank you very much. I appreciate that. My man's got us in on the fuel. I love it. Thank you, Tim. That's awesome. Very cool. Thanks, buddy. Thank you. What I was going to say on the R model or the 750, those two bikes are so similar in a one way because the 750 doesn't have any rider aids, and the R model in A1 mode has just enough. It's funny. It does the R model. Well, any of the thousands in A1 mode don't really have a nanny to speak of. They have a more or less a rough suggestion. And if you really start trying to get hoony with it, it will reel you in a little bit, but you really have to be doing some dumb stuff. But where the Suzuki's differ, one, not having any with the 750, and two, having very little with the 1000, the downside, and I know this for sure, the Honda was kicking in pretty early, and the R1, when it comes to nannies kicking in, the R1 was kicking in almost like right off the bat. It was kind of weird with that bike. DM's asking, has there been any fuel tuning to the GXR? Negative, none. So here's the funny thing with that bike. The engine, ECU, all the tuning in it is the same. But let me tell you what I've found to be a little bit different, at least so far as what I find with it. Oh, hold on a second. Before I get to Tim, one other thing. My bikes, all the 1000s all run 44 tooth rear sprockets. That's one tooth down. Where a lot of guys report the head shakes is when they're running the stock size rear sprocket, which is a 45, and with that sprocket it can get lively. So I just, even with extra power, when you de-restrict it and put exhaust on it, so that is a thing too. But DM, no, there isn't any tuning or anything like that different on the R model, and my bike is bone stock. Funny thing about it though, it it runs weirdly good for a stock GSXR 1000. I mean, weirdly good, and it has no real bit. In fact, it's running a lot better now that I've been putting gas through it. So that bike, this is my understanding of it. I don't know the whole story behind it, but I think that bike sat for a while. I think that bike, because, here's another thing about the 18. All of its components are January 2018 components, and it's got a build date of January 2018. Well, initially you might think, well, duh. I mean, why wouldn't it? A lot of times components are built well ahead of time. Like the brake line on Red Alert was from May, okay? And body work could be from the month prior or something like that. Everything on the 18, I don't know if it's because it's a pre-COVID bike or what, but everything on the 18 is like made in January. The other weird thing about the 18, the quick shifter is really good on that bike. I mean, it is far and away better than what it was on the red bike, and I have no explanation for that whatsoever. But it's like that programming is significantly different. So that was kind of weird. Another thing that I found with the blue bike. So yeah, but no, they all have the same injectors. They all have the same everything. Goldfish, does the GSXR 600 have less vibes than the 750? When you say silkiness, what do you mean? Yes, it does. So it's kind of weird. The 600, okay, so four cylinders are a very strange engine in that they have two rocking pairs. The two middle cylinders run together and the two outer cylinders run together. There's a phenomenon with, and that's in a flat plane four. There's a phenomenon with flat plane four-cylinder engines or four-cylinder in pairs, which would be a V8. Well, that's a weird way to say a four-cylinder in pair. Am I impaired? Anyway, by the way, that one of the videos I'll post up, I can't even remember the word that I used, but I've been in a bad way of like just coming up with my own words to describe stuff. So there's another one in there. Anyway, back to it. There's the primary balance is really good, but the secondary balance is terrible on inline fours. And so in that secondary imbalance gets worse with the square of the size of the engine. So I think that's how that one works. Anyway, a littler engine just by default is going to be a smoother running engine because that secondary imbalance doesn't really get resonated so much, and the engine doesn't rev high enough to get to that point. You know, 600 is going to rev to say, even if you really turn the screws up on it and it's spinning to like 16.5 or 17, it's because of the size of the engine, it's just silkier. You don't get the secondary vibration. The 750 is a little bit bigger and you get a little bit more vibes out of it. The thousands characteristically are going to be about as big as you want to go without a balancer shaft. And then anything bigger than 1,000 will typically have a balance shaft that's spinning opposite of the crankshaft that is trying to quell or neutralize those secondary imbalances. But yeah, the 600 is really good. I ain't gonna lie. Oh, and there's kind of I think they sold one today, but there were two XStar kind of like 600s in inventory over at Stubbs. And yeah, listen, the GSXR 600 and 750, I love those bikes. And you cannot go wrong either way. And I'll tell you this, you go two teeth up on the rear sprocket on a 600, and that bike all of a sudden gets real lively. I mean, that's a fun bike once you start playing around with it a little bit. A lot of guys use those bikes up in the mountains. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like it wasn't built on a Monday or a Friday. Brother, I got to tell you something, man. I don't know. There's something about the XStar bike. And the funny thing is the more I ride it, the more time I spend with it, the more I mean, look, today, I kid you not, and it wouldn't have happened unless the dude on the Hayabusa was not wanting to play. Anyway, I had a guy in a Hayabusa buzz me on the outside. I got hemmed up behind this dude pulling like some kind of a trailer, and I finally was able to get around the guy. I couldn't turn and see what was going on behind me. Anyway, I get going, and he buzzed me on the outside, and then it was on. And I mean, that stock bike just, you know, Gixxers will on the top end usually reel it into Hayabusa. This was no case of a different thing going on here. But I mean, ran it up to indicated 162. But I had it. I got around him at 154, and then I ran it up to 162, and then rolled out of it when he started getting hemmed up a little bit in traffic. And then I got around him, and then got back on, or got around another. Anyway, we were above 150 for a while, and I mean, that bike, you just roll into the throttle, and it was punchy. I don't know. There's something about the 18, man. Even if it, this is going to sound weird, but that's like the bike I really don't like of the bikes in the fleet. That's kind of the bike I don't want to get rid of. I mean, not that I would get rid of the Bonneville, and not that I would get rid of my dad's bikes. I wouldn't, but I think the XStar bike's like kind of already nailed itself to the wall for me. Oh, it took his GSXR 750 for a 300K ride yesterday up the hills in Queensland. Oh, that'd be awesome. 1-2,000 down, two up in the back. Bro, that was my old setup. That was my, that setup absolutely crushes Thunderhill. Yeah, one down, two up, and ooh, that is a awesome, awesome setup. So we would run in Northern California, just south of San Francisco. We would hit Skyline, which is 84, run up to Alice's, which is a restaurant at the top of the hill, and then run the backside of 84 through this area called La Honda, get to PCH, and either take a right and go up the peninsula into the city, or take a left and hammer PCH on our way down to like Santa Cruz. And that was a lot of fun, man. That was a pretty neat ride. So, man, that's cool, man. I'm glad you got a chance to get out. I've been basically doing a ton of practice, spending all the DM's money on gas. And now Tim's contributed to the gas fund too. I appreciate it. It's been kind of crazy, man. Here's the funny thing: getting used to the R model is something that I didn't think. I mean, I thought you just kind of hop on it and ride it, but they were so different. And I was at the dealership today up at Stubbs, and I was showing buddy of mine that I go ride with. So you're never going to believe the difference in these two bikes. And I was showing him the preload setup. Like, dude, it's crazy the difference between these bikes. So speaking of the difference between bikes, over here talking about the 18, we got to talk about the 26. So all of us know about the higher compression ratio, the bigger exhaust valve, the wider lobe separation along the cams. It is going to be a bike that once tuners get a hold of it, once tuners get a hold of it and companies like M4 start making exhaust for it, I have a feeling that bike is going to be pretty nasty. And the reason why I say that is because of the proximity of that catalytic converter to the collector. But the only thing that scares me about that bike is going to be in the wheelie control and in the, what are they calling it? It's the something torque control. Anyway, it's when you're leaned over and you're rolling into the throttle. All the manufacturers have gone to this, what feels like a standardized rider aid suite. And the thing is that it's already really good. That Suzuki, they always get kind of panned for not having a TFT screen or something else. But the funny thing is that it's easy to get lost in the sauce on that bike. It's got an LCD screen, but it's also got some pretty sophisticated stuff going on in the rider aid area. It just doesn't have those things separated out, like torque control when you're leaned over or wheelie control. And so what I'm hoping for is that all of the configurations, if you just put them to one, act like A1. And it would suck to get on that bike, fire it up, get it warmed up, get it on the road, start to play with it, and have it just lay over on you. That is going to be you're just going to have to go in and turn that kind of stuff off, I guess. But we'll see. And one of the things, I mean, I'm hoping also that before it's released, you know, you'll get your pricing and all that, but before it's released, you can see the owner's manual online for that bike. So that'd be kind of cool. But we'll see. I'm just waiting to get mine. But Tim, that sounds like a fun ride, man. I'm stoked for you. For music, retracted. It's saying good day for you. Jeff is asking, curious if you know any Houston dealers with the Kawasaki hybrid on their showroom floor. Yeah. And matter of fact, Wild West, I think, has one. In fact, I'm positive of it. Check them out on Tuesday. But yeah, I want to say they still have their hybrid sitting on the floor. For Music's asking or saying, I'm the same weight. How should I adjust the stock 750 suspension? Man, I got to tell you something. With mine, I didn't touch it. And I was railing with that bike, completely untouched. I didn't even check it. All right. Normally, I'm pretty adamant about sitting down the bike, zeroing all of. In fact, let me see if I've got my notes. You'll every once in a while you'll see me, if this thing has it. I don't know if this notebook has it. Oh, so you'll see me with like one of these notebooks sitting over there, and what I'm doing is I'll have what the bike was when I got it, and I'll validate that, and then I'll make sure I make a chart. Matter of fact, I wonder, hold on. I want if it might let me share this screen. Let me see something. Let me try something here. Huh. Maybe it will. Is it share? It looks like it's sharing. Okay, so it is sharing. So this is something that I do whenever I'm setting up a bike. So if you can see this, guys, hopefully you can. This is a spreadsheet that I make, and you'll see as delivered. And I'll go through and I will absolutely check each and every one of these things and make sure that, you know, what did it look like when I got it? Then it'll have recommended. Now in this one, this is the guy's fast setup, but remember that he was talking about dialing up the preload. I'm not dialing up the preload because I need street compliance, but I've still got 2 fingers on the fork of travel, even under really hard braking. So I really don't need to mess with preload too much there. But this is a recommended, and then I'll have stock, which is right here, which is what is in your book, which is out there. But that would be what is in your, is it out there? Anyway, you get the idea. And then adjusted, and you'll see all of these things that just say adjusted, 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 adjusted. And here, what you'll find, in fact, I need to put the date in as the 16th of August. You'll see where I've made changes. If it doesn't have a change, then it's there's no adjustment made. If there is a change, there was a change made on that day. And no news is good news. And if I come back and readjust like I did over here, it's because there was something that I had to change to get the bike to act right. And in this case, I softened up the rear shock. What I did is I kind of took it to a point where the bike was just a little too bouncy on high speed, long sweepers with the bike on the side of the tire. So I softened it up a little bit, and now it's a lot happier. So in fact, it went back to the original settings that I had put it to, that 1 1/4 and 2 1/4 settings. So hopefully that helps, but that's how I put that together. And the 750 was just really good. It right off the bat was real nice. For Music saying, thank you. I like that organization and how you go about it. It helps a ton, believe me. The 750 is such a gem. I'm onto my 3rd after having bigger and smaller bikes. They're really hard to get away from. Once a 750 sinks its fangs in you, man, it's hard to not have one. My only thing is that I've got my dad's Daytona, and that bike is real similar to the 750 in terms of just riding the thing. It doesn't handle like the 750, and it's not as fast as the 750, but it's close and it's torquey. And so that's one of the reasons why I kind of, it helped to soften the blow a little bit, but it certainly would have been nice. I will say this, the heel tech stuff will be going on eBay here pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that. If you're looking for a deal on a heel tech quick shifter, again, it'll be going on eBay before you know it. But yeah, it's one of those things with the 750. It really is that good. But if you get into the habit of keeping things organized, as a matter of fact, I've got a whiteboard in the shop for the blue bike, and it's got the whiteboard has all the current settings, the torque. I've got the other one up here, torque settings for the oil filter, for the drain plug. Sometimes I'll put the air pressures that I like to ride on there for whatever reason. I don't know. It's just keeping information all together. That's the main thing. Tim, are we going to see the 750 with the exhaust? Not that 750 with the exhaust. We may be seeing a 750 with it, but not that 750. One of the issues with that bike is that we had so many, it was taking forever to get that exhaust. And because of reasons, and the XR bike showing up, I had to make the switch pretty quickly. But there may be a 750 coming that has a full exhaust. And if we do, then I'm going to do a ride and review on it. But fingers crossed on that. I'm kind of bummed that I'm not going to have that bike with the exhaust. But as it was just much easier to make that switch down to the XR bike. One thing I will say about the 750 is that from the factory, it's probably the best sorted bike I've ever ridden. Of all the bikes that I've ridden, whether R1, CBR 1000, GSXR 1000, of the sport bikes, the GSXR 750, the best in terms of suspension and ergonomics of all the bikes, which is kind of saying a lot. But the thing is I just never felt like I needed to adjust anything with that bike. Just the compliance alone on that thing made it so nice. But yeah, no, loving the 1000, loving the R model, and every chance I get that thing out, I am riding it, believe me, getting it all right where it needs to be. So, but yeah, it's funny to mention the head shake thing with these bikes. You know, what you never hear though is you never hear about how bad the CB1000 Hornet likes to head shake. A whole lot. The Hornet 750 has a nasty little habit of doing the same thing. There's more than a couple of bikes that I've ridden that have been like that. And weirdly enough, they're all sport nakeds normally. The bikes that are nakeds that don't have any kind of drama like that, the GSXS family of bikes doesn't ever have that. So the Katana, the S1000, the S1000F, none of them that I can think of have any kind of issues like that. But some of the others tend to. For me, you say they engineered the 750 so well. Yeah, they did. Oh, 1290 Super Duke R Evo, but it didn't because I saw a lot of head shake issues. Man, it's that the thing with head shake is that this is something that it's a thing that motorcycles do. There's not really anything inherently wrong with it. You just get a little bit light. And I think what happens is a lot of guys get kind of scared of that. And I typically, it doesn't affect me in the least. And it's weird because I've only had one really hard tank slapper. It was on my GSXR 750. And I was gunning down a buddy of mine on a GSXR 600 on the backside of La Honda. And for whatever reason, I still don't know what happened, but I was wide open and it just went absolutely crazy. And I, did the whole thing, pom, 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 pom. And I'm watching it and I'm coming up on a right hander. And right in front of that right hander, as you're turning, is a tree. And I'm going, this is weird. And so I'm just, I'm off the bars, and I'm starting to lean a little bit to the right. And as I was leaning, it just went and immediately got cool and grabbed a couple of gears and kept chasing my buddy. So, but no, don't. My thing with head shake is just as long as you're not gripping the hell. I think that might have been the case. I was tucked down. I might have been gripping the bars too hard. And again, that was on a GSXR 750. Macaroni's asking, I have to ask, but are you going to be doing any Mopar content again, considering it appears there's some stuff brewing over there? Saying, I miss you, B. Look, I miss Mopar. I miss Mopar, and there's nothing going on at Dodge that I am even remotely interested in. And that's the way it is. The car is way too big. It's underpowered. Talking about the new Charger. I will start getting interested in Dodge when Dodge starts making cars that are worth getting interested in. And I mean, I'm more than happy. I mean, I may go back to doing maybe one a month and, talking about Mopar stuff, cams. I know a lot of guys have a lot of questions about camshafts still, intakes, head port work, best practices and things like that. But realistically, there's just not enough. I'll just be real clear with you on this one. Mac, there's just not enough interest in it anymore on my end. There's been guys that have blown up that have, look, I'm not going to shit on anybody. I'm just going to say that my viewership on all things Mopar just crashed. I have no understanding as to why, but when I got back into bikes, I got back into bikes in a big way. And so when Dodge or Ram does something cool, I will report on it. But until then, I'm probably not going to be yammering on too much about Dodge stuff. Tim's saying, I owned a Gen 2 Hayabusa for 8 years and never had a head shake. It was so stable. I missed that bike. Tim, so here's a fun thing. That gray Hayabusa, the 22 that I rode, the ride and review, whenever I go down, I leave the dealership, thank Hunter and Tommy, that road that I get to is called Loop 610, and it loops all around Houston. I'll get onto 610 and get up on the freeway, go hit the expansion joints with it, do that deal. When I make that exit and I turn back around, that it's not a straightaway, it's a right-hander that goes back on the other side of Loop 610. Man, that Hayabusa, and it's still up at the shop too, fanning through the gears, that thing on every gear, got a little head shake out of it. And the more it head shook, the harder I laid into the throttle. And that bike was a treat. And I got to tell you something. I may have gunned one down today with the blue bike, but the Hayabusa is still one of my favorite motorcycles. And for those that have never ridden one, for those that have never had a chance to experience one for any real length of time, damn if it's not a good bike, dude. Like, no, it doesn't handle like a this bike, and no, it doesn't do something else like a that bike. But there ain't nothing that Hayabusa is like a Hayabusa, man. And God, it is such a fun, smooth running bike. But yeah, no, getting back to it. If you watch that, I think it's the one that made it that I thought, no, was it? I don't know if it's the one that made it the final cut or not. Anyway, yeah, I'm leaning over and I'm fanning it through the gears, and in about third gear, second to third gets a little bit of a head shake, and I roll into the throttle more, third to fourth, a little bit of a head shake, and I just kept it pinned. So yeah, that was a real fun one to do. DM saying, grip the tank with your legs, not the bars with your hands. Absolutely. So here's the thing, and that's one of the reasons why if that how like I'm doing some more of these how-to videos, and I need to check um, and see if this other one, if I'm going to be able to post this one. But the one-handed video thing, the reason why my dad had me, it was so adamant about me riding one-handed, was to teach you not to have a death grip. You can't death grip one hand, right? And it's to teach you to be soft and light with your hands. Your hands are just there to do stuff. Your hands are there, not your arms or your wrists or whatever. And so anyway, that's one of the, and all of us ride one-handed, but it doesn't have, like if you do that, then you get to the habit, you'll feel a head shake and you don't even notice it. It's just something that the bike kind of does anyway. So kind of weird, but yeah. Tim saying the Hayabusa engine is just perfect. Oh, it's awesome. Absolutely love those bikes. I love them for what the Hayabusa is, the muscle car equivalent today of sport bikes. You know, it's like having a big block Corvette. It doesn't mean that it handles well, and it doesn't even mean that it's all that fast necessarily, but there's one thing that a big block car does better than any other car, and that's be a big block car. You know what I mean? Like that partial throttle twist on a Hayabusa, it's what you wish a leader class would run like through the mid-range. It just doesn't have enough displacement to do it. About the only thing that comes close would be like an Aprilia, one of the V4, the 1100s, or the Panigale 1100. And that's only because you've got power to weight advantages there, but it's not as silky, it's not as smooth as the Busa, baby. Anyway, I would, if money were no object, I would absolutely have a Busa just so that I could have one. And I would do all kinds of Busa things with it because it's a Busa. Osama's asking a question about regarding Hellcat supercharged. Oh, I think you're talking about a fuel pump. Yeah, go with the factory stuff, unless you want to get a 4 system. And John's saying my voice has got a lot of static. Yeah, there's something going on with the feed. But we are about to be checking out here pretty soon because I have got to get back to work. But no, for fuel systems, if your car stock, stick with the stock stuff. But just know that if you've got a 15, 16, or 17 now, or 18, you're probably going to want to replace your fuel pump anyway, because those things eat up fuel pumps. But with that, guys, I got to round up. Listen, I got to thank all of y'all for hanging out with me tonight. If you're new to the show, consider hitting that subscribe button. It helps the channel a ton. Sorry about the audio, kind of weird tonight. Oh, hey, at least we had a feed, right? I mean, so, you know, thank our lucky stars for, you know, little blessings. For me saying I don't ride, but I sent out a lot of the super naked bikes recently. The GSXR 1000, awesome bike. Very cool bike and one of the best you can buy for the money. For music, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So guys, I do have to wrap it up. Listen, get out there and do something cool for somebody, because chances are, guys, they need it way more than you know. Love each and every one of y'all. Would not do this without you. And with that, guys, I got to get to it. Y'all take it easy. Thanks again.